Welcome back, kings and queens, to the Coalition of Color. I know normally we usually release our episodes on Sundays. However, due to everything that's happening in the news, we just could not sit quiet on this latest incident in Wisconsin. So welcome to our first midweek rant.
Huh? Yeah. Melon,
Oh no, backroll.
The coalition of color, my brother, rock your crown. I'm here to show you the power inside the color brown. Now's the time to open up your mind to what they tried to hide from the real royalty. Open up your chakra from your brain to your feet and really realize what's inside and believe. Got God on my side and I ride with a queen. As we travel on this journey, I'ma show you what I mean when you open up your eyes. When you know what your worth is, never no surprise. Spirit of the sun, navigating stars. Times are getting better when you feel them getting.
So, as far as what happened, how do you guys feel about that? One, how do you feel about? Let's break it down, I guess. So let's talk about the incident that started all of this in Wisconsin with the guy in the domestic dispute with his girlfriend. His girlfriend called the cops because he took her key or something like that and wouldn't give it back to her. Wasn't supposed to be on property, so she called the cops. Cops come, and here we are. We all have seen the video, and if you haven't, watch this clip real quick.
Wow.
What do you guys think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on first viewing the video?
So when I first saw the video, I thought, here we go again. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that I feel like we have to stop doing as a black community is jumping to conclusions before we know all the facts. Because initially, I was mad. Here we go with 3 months of protests, and here's another black dude shot in the back. Nevertheless, so I was infuriated initially.
Right.
What about you? Same, definitely infuriation. Here we go again. How many does it take? I'm tired. It's just so overwhelmingly disrespectful. It feels like the lack of respect for human life that has melanated skin, and I'm tired. That was my initial reaction. I'm tired.
So what do you guys think about the fact that he had a weapon?
What was your initial reaction?
Facts, because this is the rant.
Well,
so what's up?
That's what I was gonna say. I felt like upon watching it initially, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't really that upset because was he going to get? I couldn't hear the audio, right?
Yeah.
So it was just, I could just imagine. I like to do this thing where I kind of like narrate other people's, if you can't hear the audio, I like to narrate it and make up in my mind what's saying. So in this particular incident, not assuming, but I'm just imagining if you're walking away from the police officers and they have their guns drawn at you, I can only imagine they're telling you to stop walking.
Agreed.
Don't move. Freeze, put your hands up, those type of
Commands.
Yeah, those types of lawful commands. I feel like that would be something that would be shouted out at you. So if you're not responding to the officers who at that moment have their guns drawn on you, what do you think is going to happen, especially if they're in fear? Because right now, no laws have been changed. Despite all the black people that have died, no laws have been changed. So we all know what the rule of thumb is when you're a black man. Despite all the protests and everything that we're saying, guys, this umbrella is going crazy.
It's Hurricane Laura.
The wind is real.
Yes,
Yeah.
the hurricane is really about to send this umbrella into the house. My mom is going to kill me. So yeah, I just feel like... despite how much is changing, nothing has changed yet, right? The police are still the police, and they will shoot you and kill you on sight, right? I feel like. So if you're doing something that they feel like is a threat to them, and to them, they feel like if I'm telling you to stop, you're going into a car. I don't know what's in that car. I'm scared for my life too. What if you're gonna pull a gun out of that car? What if you come to find out he had a knife in the car? I'm not defending the response and the reaction that the police had, because my go-to is shoot him in the leg. You decapacitate them for a second, right? You knock them out for a second, shoot them in the leg, disable them for a second, and then see how they react. If they about to whip around a gun, then kill them. You know what I mean? But otherwise, he wasn't even trying to. I don't know. I feel like you have to, as a black person in America, you have to behave a specific type of way when police are around. Furthermore, when police have their guns out, the rules are just different for us.
I agree. That's a whole different conversation in and of itself as to why the rules are different and this, that, and the other. But I feel like, okay, so I'm going to approach this from two different standpoints, right? First of all, just if we're doing this whole jumping into the psyche of the character thing, imagine you being a black man who's protested for 3 months, you know what I'm saying? And you're out there, and we don't know the dialogue. They don't have body cams out there. I think that's another issue. But we don't know what the dialogue was before. But if somebody's telling you to stop and put your hands up, freeze, those are only lawful commands if you're being detained, or you see what I'm saying? So if they got out there and it's like, oh, he had a knife and nobody ever sees the knife, nothing like that, and he turns around to go to his car with his kids in it and somebody's telling you to stop, I don't got to do that, you know?
I feel you.
And that's what I was going to kind of harp on. The two things. One, since 2017, Wisconsin legislature has actually passed a law for money for body cams. There were no body cams out there. I have an issue with that, because that, for one, in addition to the fact that it took you 3 days to come up with an official response to what happened, it seems like something is being hidden. And also, further to your point about, yes, I'm a black man. He was surrounded by family. He's in his hood, his neighborhood, with his family, his friends, uncomfortable. No, I don't have to do what you're telling me to do, especially because I'm not being detained. I'm not doing anything illegal, and you have no right to stop me. Guns drawn on me or not, that's already excessive. So now if I feel threatened as a black man, and the only weapon I have, of course, this is a common colloquialism. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But if this is the only weapon I have as a black man trying to defend my kids and trying to defend my family, I understand him feeling like, nah, I need to do what I have to do in this situation. But at the same time, you're right. Whether they're lawful commands or not, and it is a whole nother topic, black people are treated differently from law enforcement. We are viewed very differently, male or female. And because of that, we do have to acquiesce. And that's why my anger is there, because we shouldn't have to be different or have our place in order to keep our lives. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's where my opposite viewpoint comes from. So we're approaching this from the black man's perspective. But now, if you start to look at it from the officer's perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because they've gone through the same 3 months of protest that we have. Y'all know what I'm saying. But they've been out there, they've been threatened, cars set on fire, this, that, and the other. I'm quite sure, like you said, he's in the hood. Now you got all of these black people coming out who's protesting the police even being there, you know, so it's a little bit amped up. So let's say that there is a knife in the car, or let's say he says, I do have a knife in the car. At that point in time, those commands become lawful. You see what I'm saying? So the officer was following him to the car. I feel like that's debatable, right? Because you could have put some distance between you. You could have found some cover if you really felt threatened. But you were a little bit too close. It can happen to anybody, you know, whatever. Life happens. You get this cloudy vision. So now you're telling him, do not get in the car or whatever. And at that point in time, he's a little bit too close. There's something called a 21-foot drill, and it's like if you shoot somebody who's 21 feet away and their last thought was to stab you within 21 feet, they can still get to you and cause you bodily harm. So if I'm telling you not to do that, if I see it on the floorboard or whatever, so if I'm telling you not to do that, or I see it on the floorboard, and you're not following those commands, now I feel threatened. And at that point in time, I don't know if this is something to be visited, but America does not have a shoot to wound policy.
Yeah.
Law enforcement policy is
Shoot
if
to
you're
kill.
gonna, because the idea would be that every time you pull the trigger, you have to, you know, let's say everybody's judgment is right.
That
because
shouldn't be right.
There's so many levels of less lethal force that if you pulled your gun out, this should be the last resort.
So you shouldn't have even had your gun out, is my point.
But at the same time,
Depends.
because think about it, they did say, now this is according to the official police statement, which I personally don't trust, but according to the official police statement, they tried to tase him and it did not work.
Ooh.
Oh, so
But
that's
at the
an
same
elevation
time,
of
but
the
so,
use of force
so
continuum.
let me raise these two questions. I want to know how you guys are thinking about it, because this just came to me as you were talking. So one, they tried to tase him and it didn't work, but two, he was also with his back turned. I'm thinking of the situation. The man's name is escaping me, with the Wendy's running away. Am I a threat? And then the officer was holding on to Blake's t-shirt as he shot him in the back. How much of a threat is that actually? You know what I'm
If
saying?
he's going in his car, it is a threat. Especially if, okay, so here's my issue, right? Here's my issue with this situation. When you look at the if this is true, if this is factual, right? That the baby mother, person who owns the house, right? Person whose property it is, I get it. It's your neighborhood, you're from here. But let's be clear. We're talking about a black woman who called the police for herself, for her safety. That man was not supposed to be here. I'm not saying he should be dead or shot or injured because of that, or paralyzed because of it. But that's the situation. That woman created one of those things where you, what is it called? A restraining order, right? So she has a restraining order against this guy. He shouldn't have been there. When the cops come, they realize that he has warrants against him. He's wanted, right? So they're telling him whatever command they're telling him, whether it be stop, sit down on the floor, put your hands down, don't do that, don't walk, freeze, whatever it is, it's lawful at this point because you're breaking the law just being here.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, so
Touche.
You see, I feel like we as black people, we jump so quick. You know what I mean? Like, let's be clear. I ain't saying he should have been shot,
right? But let's get all the facts.
Let's get all the facts.
No, and I absolutely agree with that. So to add another fact into it, in the research I was doing, the police, what is it called? The person who takes the dispatcher, the police dispatcher, told the cops that arrived on the scene that she didn't have enough information because the girlfriend, baby mother, whatever it is, that called the cops on Blake was quote unquote uncooperative.
Oh, she didn't want to cooperate. Well, we know why.
I mean, of
that
course.
That goes right into Meg Thee Stallion,
which we're going to talk about later. But at the same time, I think that kind of goes further to my point. Okay, so if we know, if the set of facts that we have are the girlfriend, baby mother, whatever, called the police on Blake. She had some type of restraining order or some type of legal order of protection that he's not supposed to actually be on the premises. They got into some type of altercation where he had her keys and refused to give them back, and she called the cops because of that. In addition to the fact that he had warrants. That's the complete set of information that we have. What are his warrants about? Is he a serious threat? He admitted, well, they said he admitted during the course of the investigation that he had the knife, but is that before he goes to the car? Is that after he goes to the car? Like, I feel like there's so many details that are missing from the timeline that would actually help us, because I agree with you. We shouldn't jump to conclusions. Of course, as the black community, we're always ready to defend one of our own. Who isn't? But at the same time, you're right. We need all the facts. But if we can't get all the facts, there's no body cam to see what actually happened. The video that we have is such an awful angle and so far back that we have no audio. There's so many pieces of the puzzle that are missing that we can't really make an informed decision or have an informed opinion. And it's unfortunate because it's now back to black versus blue, in my humble opinion.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?